over 400 registrations for today. We received over 1,200 questions, so we're very excited to answer all of this. The webinar today is about how to get hired in Israeli high tech. We have amazing professionals who joined us. We have Shavit, who's going to talk to us about HR interviews, Sophia about how to shape your LinkedIn and CV, and Natalie about HR interviews. Natalie about technical interviews. I'm Nathan. I'm a CTO at Fergen. I actually made Aliyah 5 years ago from France and slowly started in the high-tech industry. So I will be moderating the panel and making sure everything goes as smooth as possible. This panel is organized by Nevo. Nevo is basically a community looking to elevate Olim in high-tech. It started a couple of years ago. It's led by Abby On and supported by Michael Eisenberg. Abby is here in the background organizing this event for us. And we have also this Lorena Feldman, who organized all of this very diligently and made everything go smoothly. So I thank both of them today, although you won't have the opportunity to see them on screen. About Nevo, we make many events throughout the year to help Olim enter the Israeli high tech. We have a LinkedIn page you can follow. We have an Instagram. And also every year we have a cohort of a specific amount of Olim that are selected to join the Nevo program and receive mentoring and also give back to the community. So make sure to stay in touch. Before we get started deeply into the subject, a bit about all the attendees that are now more than 130. We have mostly Olim from Russia, 30%. We have also people from USA, Argentina, and probably the rest of the world, like Europe or French people like me. And surprisingly, we also have a big part of Israelis, showing that what we're building today, it not only helps people from abroad, but also the local population. And what about your different status? Half of us here are currently looking for our next adventure. So hopefully everything we prepared today will be super helpful. We have a part of us who are not employed, not looking for a job. And also, surprisingly, even a quarter of us are already in a position, but are interested, to learn about all the knowledge that is going to be shared with us this evening. So as I said previously, we got over 1,000 questions. So it was hard for us to, filter it down and condense it to an hour of interesting knowledge. But most of all, people here asked, how to be connected to HR, how technical interviews happen, how to match their skills with the right job for them on the market, and of course, how to build proper CVs. So without ado, let's jump right into it. To start, first we have Sophia, who will talk to us about how to make the most out of your LinkedIn. To tell you a bit about Sophia, she made Aliyah from Ukraine 12 years ago, so she is an Ola Chadasha herself. She is a global talent acquisition leader with more than 50 years of experience. So she has both the experience of being an Ole and of being deep into the HR world. She worked at Hub Security as her last position, which is a cybersecurity company. She was there the global head of recruitment, and she was also a recruitment lead at JP Morgan, which is one of the biggest banks in the world. And I will let Sophia take it from there for her presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Nathan, thank you so much for this wonderful intro. I will talk to you today about LinkedIn. This is a platform which I absolutely love. My personal LinkedIn journey started many years ago in 2007 in Ukraine. It was my first position in recruitment. I worked in a company called Team International. And one day my boss came to my desk and told me, I opened your LinkedIn profile. Asked him what the hell it is. I had no clue what it was. Today, all of you do, but we actually didn't. It wasn't that popular. It was only open in 2003. So he told me, just figure out, play with it. And that's exactly what I did. Was excited about learning all this profession and this platform as well. So what I did, I just filled in all the information about myself. Then I added as connections people I knew, mainly colleagues, and magic things happened pretty fast, pretty right away. I started getting connection requests from people I didn't know globally from all over the world, wanting to get to know me, to share advice. I got invited to different groups and actually started getting different job offers. It ended up in me accepting different freelance propositions. And I even was interviewed by one journalist who was writing an article about what recruitment was. So it made a huge impact for myself, and it impacted all my career afterwards. Obviously, I'm still on LinkedIn, have 30,000 people in my first circle. Absolutely love this platform. So let's talk today how you can make the most of LinkedIn, how you can be found by recruiters, by sources, by headhunters. And I want to teach you to use LinkedIn the way that it works for you and not you work hard on LinkedIn. And we'll also discuss what's the difference between your CV and your LinkedIn, when to use which is better, what's the same and what's different. So I think LinkedIn can be looked at as your visit card. It gathers, if we could move to the next slide, please. Basically, LinkedIn is all information about yourself, and only you decide what to put there. My biggest advice is don't be shy. Put everything there, all your certifications, all your awards, everything you are proud of, and what you think is valuable for people who might hire you or don't know you. So let's just go from bottom to the top. The way the LinkedIn profile is built, let's discuss what's important and how to actually build it. Your profile picture, you absolutely have to put a picture. That's how people engage with you, so they will recognize you when you meet in person. I would suggest a picture that shows your face, that makes engagement with your eyes, but you're free to put something else. I think just this picture works best. Background picture, you absolutely should put a picture there. If you are employed today, that I would suggest putting a company logo there. If you are not employed or don't feel like putting a company logo, then put any other picture that correlates with what you're doing in your professional life. You can as well put a picture of nature, anything colorful. Just don't leave it blank, because leaving it blank is losing an opportunity to be, for your profile to be more bright. So let's not make it dull. Put something there. You can change it from time to time. That's absolutely fine. Then title. Title is probably the most important part in your profile. That's a line which people see when they look you up on the internet. When they see a shorter version of your profile on the mobile application, they immediately see the title. Don't put your current position there, because you have it. You have a place on your profile to put your current position. Put something else, make it more personal. Let's say who you are in your professional life, but share something personal. People put things like developer, father, animal lover. I don't know, a designer, feminist, hiker. So play with it as well. You can change it from time to time. Just be creative, be noticeable. That's what helps you being seen in the crowd. Then your job search status. You can indicate if you're actively looking for a job or not. You can make it seen to recruiters or to everyone else. If you are looking openly, let's say if you are unemployed, then you can put it for everybody to see. Again, if you don't like doing it, that's fine. That's not what actually gets you hired. But what gets you hired is building your profile right. My main advice is to work on the wording. Put as much text as you can, but not any text. Use keywords, use buzzwords. us recruiters and sources and headhunters, we search by keywords. So try to use synonyms, try to describe same things with different words, because you never know which words will be used to look you up. If the same term can be written differently, if you did it in your different employments, in one case use one word, in your other employment use another one. When you're describing your job history, don't put only your title, describe what you did. It's good to use numbers, it's good to use percentages, something that's easily seen and draws attention. Contact information. There is a specific place for contact information, and there is summary. I suggest that you put your contact information, which is your phone number and your email, both in your contact information field and also in your summary, because if your goal is to be found, to be contacted easier, make it easier for recruiters. For them to contact you, they need to use emails. Usually it's a paid function. So if you don't want them to make hard choices if to spend this email on you or not, put this contact information for them to freely use it and contact you easily. Summary, it's a great place to summarize your experience, to write what you're looking for. Again, you can change it from time to time if your preferences change. Skills, you can add up to 50 skills. Please use all the space, because you will be found through the skills. They're also searchable for recruiters and sources as words. If you are volunteering today or volunteered, I don't know, even 20 years ago, put it there. It contributes to the whole picture of yourself, of who you are. Interests, causes, it's more on the personal side, but it's good to fill it in again, to have a full picture of yourself. LinkedIn as well can be used as a company mapping tool. You can easily search up companies on LinkedIn. You have a website there, you have open jobs, and what's wonderful, you have a full list of employees who indicated they work there. You can enter their profiles. You can see if you know someone from this company. You can ask some of the employees whether you know them or not to pass your CV to the company. So that's a great thing. You can contact employees of the company to find out more internal information about the company if they will be comfortable sharing it. But concerning the jobs, I have to tell you an important tip. When you see jobs posted by the company, don't be fooled and don't think those are all the jobs that company is hiring for. Again, it's a paid function for the companies. It costs a lot. So most of the companies are not posting all of their jobs on LinkedIn. So always go to the careers page through the website and see which other positions they have open. LinkedIn as well is a great networking tool. You already understood that it's not a passive visit card as we had in the past. It's a place to meet people, to network, to make something bigger of it. So when you meet people and add them to their networks, it's very common to start reading and commenting their content, to react on what they're doing. If they shared an achievement, if they made a post, it would be right to react, to put an emoji, to write a comment, and that's something you will get back from them when you start posting. Posting, that's another great thing to do, to be noticeable on LinkedIn, to stand out of the crowd. When you post, use pictures, use hashtags. When you're using pictures today, it becomes more and more common on LinkedIn to use personal pictures of yourself. LinkedIn becomes more and more like Facebook. It wasn't like that even 5 years ago, but today that's what the algorithm likes, that's what people react to, and that's what you should do if you want to make an impact and really be noticed on LinkedIn. Let's talk a bit about CV vs LinkedIn. Both are important. A CV's only function is to apply for jobs, but it's more flexible than LinkedIn in terms of your job history. You can change it a bit each time you are applying for different jobs. You can do it with your LinkedIn profile. It should be more universal. So for CV, you can have multiple versions. I don't advise you to change your job history. That's not something you should do, but you can add more details on relevant positions and less details on positions that are less relevant for the job you're applying for. You shouldn't put a picture. That's not common. And what you also can do, you can change the order of different sections. Let's say if your volunteering experience, if your language knowledge, if your education is more relevant and your work experience is not, put it on the top. If it's vice versa, change the order, play with it. But both obviously are important. So this is it from me on LinkedIn. This is a QR code you can use to connect with me on LinkedIn. We can keep talking about LinkedIn and other things, but for the end, I want to give you a small homework to really start being active on LinkedIn. I want you to make a post about this webinar, each of you, when we end or tomorrow morning. You can do it in a week, that's fine. Write a small post about what you learned today after you listen to all of us, and tag Nevo Network and tag all of us, the speakers and organizers, and Nathan, obviously. And I suggest that you add a picture, make a screenshot of this webinar, or make a selfie of yourself watching this webinar. So let's see how it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was amazing. I also myself, when I came to Israel, I was barely using LinkedIn, and I slowly learned that it's the way to go here and also in many other countries. We had many interesting questions from the audience about your presentation. I would like to start with one of the questions we had now, which is when you're currently employed, like at least a quarter of the people listening to us tonight, when you're currently employed and you're looking for a new job, should you use the feature of LinkedIn to put that you are open to remote work? If so, how do you protect yourself from your boss or people in your company seeing that? And also, does it have any value for you as an HR recruiting a new person to see that they are open to work? What are your thoughts on this feature that LinkedIn has?
You can put open to work and make it visible for recruiters. Only recruiters with LinkedIn recruiter license will see it, not everybody in your company. And actually it excludes recruiters from your company. Again, if you're worried too much about them finding out, don't put it. That's not the only way recruiters find out about the people who are open to work are not the only people who are contacted actively by recruiters and sources. So you don't have to do it.
Okay, so I see that LinkedIn, fought over this well and actually protects the candidate, at least they try to. There's another big question that comes, in most of the people here. It's about salary expectations. In different countries, we have different ways to approach, salaries expectations due to different cultures. In Israel, how do you recommend to approach it? Should we be open? Should we be aggressive about it in the interview process? Should we give a number? Should we give a range? How do you best advise people to go forward with this?
It depends a lot. Don't be aggressive. That's my first advice. That's not a good. But if you are asked about your salary expectations at first steps of your process and you are not ready for this conversation, let's say you didn't have time to check the market benchmark, you are not sure if you're happy with what you had in your last company, then try to ask the company what they're offering. If they will be willing to share some range again, or even a number, that's wonderful. It will make life easier for you. If they're not open, try to talk about this at later stages. Why is it always good? You will have time to check the benchmark. and get advice from colleagues. So think this a bit better, and most of all, because you will be able to impress the employer to show your worth, and then it will be easier to have this discussion.
Thank you, Sophia. We're a little over time, but I want to ask you a last question that I think matters a lot to the Olim Hadashim here. When we come to Israel, we don't necessarily have a strong Hebrew. We sometimes don't have a good enough level even to be able to use Hebrew professionally. So what a lot of people are wondering here is it possible to get hired with a good English but a weak Hebrew?
If we are talking about being hired in tech, we're a lot more luckier because English is absolutely enough. Most of the companies are global, all internal communications are in English, so that's absolutely fine. So I would, in any case, suggest Olim to use a language they feel confident in. Even if they learned a bit of Hebrew, can use it, can understand many things, don't take interviews in it, just to feel better, use English. I mean, work on your Hebrew is very important, but use your stronger language.
Yeah, and I can add maybe on top of this, it took me a very long time to learn Hebrew. In my first company, for almost 2 years, I was going out of meetings without understanding anything. But eventually, I went to evening ulpan, and eventually I could talk fluent Hebrew. However, even today, I still talk in English with people in my company, although I can talk Hebrew because it's the language I'm the most comfortable in, and it's very important for work. Without further ado, let's move to Shavit for the HR interviews. Shavit recently joined the people team at Melio. So she's just started a new role as HR VP. She has been in the HR world for over 10 years with experience in global corporates and fast-growing tech companies. She started at Teva Pharmaceutical in organization and leadership development. And she also held, after this, a few HR VP roles. And the last one was at SimilarWeb, where she worked directly with Olim in sales and marketing. So again, we have a wonderful mix of HR expertise with Olim expertise. Shavit, it's on you.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro. So before we jump in, I will say two things is that to answer the question about the languages. So I worked with Olim in SimilarWeb. I worked with the sales and marketing as was the HRBP. And it was funny because I think I was almost the only one that spoke fluent Hebrew. And all my day-to-day was in English. So definitely Olim outnumbered me with the language. What I'm going to share now is tips and techniques that I use personally when I interview to other roles. And this is what I also used before I joined Melio, which is just recently started there. And I'll talk a bit about preparations and how to effectively prepare, and also how to showcase your strengths and achievements, because I think this is one of the major tools or major opportunities. And it also, I think, gives us, when we're applying for a job, strong feeling and confidence when we are talking about our strengths and our achievements. Can we go to the next one? Thanks. So when I'm talking about preparations, I'm talking about researching the company and researching the interviewer, what they are doing, if there are shared connections. You can use LinkedIn, you can use the company website, you can use other applications, you can, but I think researching the company and the interviewer before the interview is crucial in preparing for a successful interview, because by taking time to research the company, you can demonstrate your interests about the company. You can demonstrate your responses or tailor-made your responses. You can highlight your strong matches. So it is, so by preparing, you actually gain more confidence and also be more focused and correlate with what the company's expectations are. Second thing in SPARTA preparations is just, and also during the interview, is 3 steps to identifying your strengths, mapping your achievements, and connecting your strengths with your achievements. And I will explain a bit about that. For the first step is to identify what are your strengths, 3 to 5 strengths and competencies that you can understand, demonstrate your value, understand what is your unique value at work that sets you apart and distinguish you from others. Identify your superpowers that they can contribute to your success. For Olim specifically, I think that the combination of first knowing the Israeli culture because you are here, knowing other culture, for you came from another language, a mother tongue language, is a huge superpower. As preparation for this webinar, I asked my colleagues and they said the same thing. So this is the superpower, so demonstrate it and see it as advantage because others don't know the culture or the language same as you are, and also don't know how to bridge the gaps between the Israeli culture and other culture, which is critical for teams. Slide back, please. Second thing is to map your achievements. So think about your achievements on previous work and and what was your part in that. What did you do that made a difference? Never estimate achievements. Assume that what you see as achievement, but might look something small to you, is something very valuable to another company. And lastly, connect your strengths with your achievements. And that way, you will be able to demonstrate how you've shown your strengths and also to show your impact. And this is your unique value and kind of tell your story. I can tell I can share that I used to make sure that these 3 success stories that I have that demonstrate my success, I used to put them in the interview over there. Like even if someone didn't ask me directly about my strength, someone asked me about an achievement or a challenge or something like that, if I wanted them to know this story, I would have found a way to share it about myself and articulate it very clearly. So make a pitch about it, so it will be very clear what was your achievement and what was your part in it. It will also help you feel more confidence in doing the interview. And proactivity during the interview, also another thing, important thing. Ask questions, and by questions, I mean that during the interview, ask about the role, ask about the company. It will help you answer the questions better. And also don't forget, this is a mutual interview. You are examining this opportunity, same as the company is examining your candidacy. So by asking questions, you have more information. And I think Natalie will elaborate more on that in the technical interviews as well. So by that, you can learn about your role and also learn about the company and the culture, by the way. So proactivity is a key. And lastly, and it's part of being in control, and I think being also proactive, is make a retrospective or reverse engineering of the interview. After a step of the interview, even prepare an Excel spreadsheet for that, or some kind of a plan. Reflect on the interview. Evaluate what went well. What did you say that worked well for you? What you feel good with. Identify areas for improvements. What you can do better for next time. It's not because you didn't do something right here, but it's about making it better each time, and also to think about what you can do better in the future interview in the same company, what you are still missing in what you know or don't know. Reflect on what you learned about the company, about the role, open questions that you had or still have, and think about this opportunity. Do you like it? Do you not like it? If you want to pursue this opportunity and you still find it interesting, I recommend to follow up with a short text or an email saying that you're interested, maybe relate to something that was raised during the interview. But being proactive after 3 days, it's something that usually when we are in the process, we don't necessarily feel comfortable, but it is help us shine versus others and show that we care and interested about the role. So to summarize everything, I think the main key is first to be proactive and manage the process and enjoy it and think about what you can bring to the table.
Yeah, and if I can add on this, Shavit, now I've seen all the difference between, you know, being on the looking for a job side and now recruiting as a CTO. And when I was looking for a job, I always thought it was overrated to send a follow-up message to the recruiter or to the HR manager. But actually today that I'm on the other side, I see how much it's valuable. And I really encourage anyone that really wants a job to do this. It makes a huge difference to see the candidate sending a message, because often a lot of candidates are doing many interviews in a series, and you know, they don't give a lot of attention to all the processes they have at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Did you want to conclude on the presentation, or we can move on?
So as a conclusion, I think the three main keys is that prepare about the company and prepare with your answers, come prepared. Be proactive in managing the process and managing the interview itself. And lastly, and this is very important, I think a colleague one time told me, when you speak, you don't smile. So smile and enjoy it, because at the end of the day, at the end of the interview, there is something about building a small relationship or creating a chemistry. And when we smile, we show up better, and it helps us as well. Amazing.
Thank you, Shavit. We have a little bit of time for some questions, even maybe a lot of time. So let's start right away. You probably have seen a lot of Olim in HR interviews, and they perhaps have some common mistakes with local people, but also some different patterns of behavior. So one question that came up a lot is, what are the most common mistakes that specifically Olim do in interviews in the Israeli high-tech scene?
I'm not sure it's about, I'm trying to differentiate between the interviews and working with Olim. So I'm not sure if it's happened only in interviews, but I think mainly is first to set expectations about the language. So if you speak fluent English only or only English, just say it in advance. If you know a bit of Hebrew, it's fine, but you don't have to use it. For someone who used to work with Olim, I was surprised by the new Hebrew. So it's okay, just set expectations. And also about the culture itself. So there might be some things that are different in the work culture between different countries. So feel free to ask or even to give a feedback, especially in the interview process. Ask about the process itself. If it's about the salary expectations, ask colleagues or friends, but assume that there might be some cultural differences that are just misunderstandings or miscommunication. So ask about it.
Great. And by the way, I see that questions are accumulating in the Q&A. I'd like to encourage all the participants to put their questions in the Q&A, because we will have time at the end, 15 minutes, to answer you know, those more broad questions. So feel free, you know, to write down. We'll get to it. So Shavit, this was great. The second important thing that we're being asked is about the location of the candidates. Often candidates live in a specific place, let's say Haifa, and they're applying for a position in Tel Aviv, and they can be scared to tell where they are living, because it could, for example, discourage the HR to hire them or see it as a disadvantage. What's your take on it as an HR when you see someone living in a different location from where you are hiring for? What do you instinctively think?
I probably, when I see it, my instinct thinking around it is wondering why the candidate wants to apply and how they can manage that. So I think it's the question is for you guys and not for the HR. If you know that you can do it, if you, for example, live in Haifa and you know that you can come to the office 3 or 4 days a week, and you're fine with the commute and you have arrangement for that, You can just say it as simple as that. I don't think that necessarily HR will not take candidates because of that. You just need to be prepared with the answer. And I think it's important not for HR, but also for ourselves, because on a day-to-day, we are commuting to the office and it takes part of the day. And while we are searching for jobs and we really want it, after a few months, we are still commuting to the office. So we should be really realistic with ourselves if it's something feasible for us. If it's feasible for you, it will be feasible for the employer.
And of course, with a lot of work from home that happened in the last years, it makes it easier.
Yeah, this is for sure. But I think also with working from home, if you expect to come 3 days a week to the office, then, and also you can raise that, by the way, and to say it's too much. Or I had a colleague who said, okay, I cannot do 3, I can do 2 times a week. Great, it's a great answer. Just have the right answer on how you're going to deal with that. So we'll see. So it will be an opportunity for discussion about it.
Being aware of the challenge. And I can add from my own experience that we hired people in Jerusalem, in Haifa, and some of them actually ended up moving to Tel Aviv. And all they needed is actually to have a job, have a center of interest in Tel Aviv, and then that it made it easier for them to move to the city. So sometimes you can present it as a step towards moving to the city. So, great. And now let's focus a bit more on the HR interview itself. I can talk also of my own experience applying to jobs. Often when you head on with a recruiter, they can ask you some tough questions. They can start to go into details to, bring you into the rabbit hole. For example, they could question your abilities and ask you, if you're sure you're cut out for this job, if you have the right skills. How do you advise to react when a recruiter is effectively challenging you?
Fake it till you make it. But if I'm answering seriously, then I think once you know what are your strengths, what you achieved, what do you see yourself as a candidate for the role, this is what you should explain. And if there are gaps, how you plan to bridge these gaps? I won't necessarily raise it by myself, the gaps, but you should have a plan how to do that. And it's even okay to say, I didn't do this and that in the role. However, I've done something else that might be similar. And you can see that it's correct. So for example, for me, when I did a transition from organizational development to an HR, and I didn't have experience in a recruitment, in interviewing, what I could have said is that I know how to map and interview and to learn about the organization, so I can probably do it at use the same techniques if I'm preparing a manager for a leadership program, as same as I'm interviewing a candidate. So social similarities.
I understand, yeah, and simple, but keep the confidence. Israelis tend to be very confident, compared to maybe other cultures. So you need to even out to stand out. The last question we have is about to how many jobs you should apply. Basically, do I need to send my resume to every single vacancy position that I think could fit, could be roughly suitable, or should I only apply to those that are 100% exactly my skills? What is your take on this?
I think it's not about the amount. At the end of the day, we need only one role. This is what we are looking for, one role. So it's not about the amount. It's about, I think, working smarter, meaning sometimes for one applicant, you can work a bit harder than to apply to all positions. And by working a bit harder or smarter, it's about finding the right connections, following up to see that your applicancy was someone. If you're asking for someone to apply your CV, to make sure that it was done, to learn a bit about the company. If it's 80% fit or 100% fit, it's less that matters. I think it's about how much you can invest in each application, because you need to invest a bit in that. And also, don't oversend. If you applied for a position, with the company email and you find a network, it's fine. But to ask two people to send your resume and to ask and to apply also directly, it's something seems like it's a bit off. So apply smartly, I think.
And also when you're
lastly, a tip that I can give that someone told me this was in research is that it's best to apply not on a Thursday. Send your CV on Sunday, for example. It's in between the end of the week and the beginning of the week. It's better at the beginning of the week because something that was sent, because once the quarter starts the week, it starts a new week, so you are the first on the pipe.
And of course, if you apply to a lot of vacancies, try to keep track. If the recruiter calls you on the phone and you don't know what the company is, try to pretend you do. But nothing is as big as a turnoff as when the candidate doesn't know the company calling.
Exactly. And also write notes after the first conversation. So if there is another call, then you know, and then you have more background on that.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Shavit. We'll now get to our last part with Natalie. So she will take care of talking to you about the technical interviews, which often come after the HR interview. So that's really to the best of you who managed to get to this phase. About Natalie, she is also an Ola from Austria this time. She came to Israel a few years ago. She has actually 9 years of experience working in global high-tech companies, such as WalkMe, Checkpoint Technologies, and Meta, which Natalie recently left. At Meta, she was building and optimizing recruiting strategies, hiring candidates, and leading a lot of initiatives about hiring diverse candidates, which links a lot with all the Olims we have today from a very diverse backgrounds. Natalie, I'll let you take it from there.
Great, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Nathan, for the introduction. So let's dive right into how to prepare for a technical interview. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you should take one thing from this presentation, it's about how to pass a technical interview. I would say it's practice which makes the master, basically. And I'll explain more about it after. Next slide. Okay. So when you're going through a technical interview, the company and the interviewer may expect you to show specific technical knowledge during the technical interview. So let's say if you're applying to a software developer position, for example, at the technical interview may test your knowledge of writing and creating code, creating a seamless user experience and testing the performance of products. If you apply for a data scientist position or other technical positions, the interview might look different. So during the technical interviews, there are several qualities you need to show as a candidate. There are 5 important qualities which I summarized, which are required in a technical interview. One of the qualities is the ability to solve problems, and this is a very important ability. It is recommended to show the employer that you can overcome challenges and solve difficulties and difficult problems. Here you should share your thinking process and the way you solve problems throughout the interview. Another quality is your technical knowledge, which is also very important. And by technical knowledge, I mean all the abilities, knowledge, and expertise required to perform specific job-related tasks, processes, and of course, technical skills. Another ability is your communication. Now, what's the best way to share your thinking process during an interview? It's through your communication, and that's something that you should always keep in mind. How well you communicate with others could be an important factor in your next position. In some technical positions, you'll be responsible for explaining complicated process to people in a way that is simple as possible. So try to use this technique also during the technical interview. Additionally, creativity is very crucial. So technical interviews or in general, interviews are an opportunity to express your creativity when it comes to solving difficult problems. So when you respond to questions, you can create several solutions, of course, to a single problem. Now, your innovation can help you to stand out from other competing candidates. And the last quality is, or ability, let's call it more quality, is the cultural fit. In technical interviews, the interviewer is checking if you're cultural fit for the company. So it's not only your technical knowledge, and so to prepare for the interview, you can research the company you want to work for, and think about how you can contribute to it. You can also show that you're a match for the role by sharing your knowledge, of course, when you respond to interview questions. So this is about the qualities. Now we will speak about how to prepare yourself for a technical interview. So before interviewing, always make sure to prepare yourself, especially improve your technical knowledge. So some positions require the need to study fundamentals, working with data structure, coding in a specific language, or using specific business intelligence tools. A strong understanding of the basics can put you in a very good position. So make sure you're up to date. And preparation is key when it comes to technical interviews. And there are several steps you can take to ensure you're ready. First of all, review the job description. Make sure you understand the specific technical skills and technologies the company is looking for, and make sure you understand what the position is about. Brush up your fundamentals. Review basic concepts in algorithm, data structure, and program languages, everything that you think could be beneficial for the technical interview. And try to increase your knowledge as much as you can. This can be done through different resources. One resource which I always recommend is books. Reading books on subjects which are related to the interview, about specific coding languages, about data structures or basic of other fundamentals can be very helpful. Online courses is another very important resource. Sometimes you need to brush up your skills, and this can be very helpful through doing online courses. And another very important resources are interview simulations. Now, there are a lot of websites where you can do a lot of technical interview simulations, and I highly recommend them. Try to do as many simulations as you can, especially because most of the websites are for free. So use this resource as much as you can. And the most important tip I could give you is consult with people who are already working in this company, and ask them, maybe they know what's the best way to prepare yourself for the interview, and maybe they can give you some advice. Additionally, I would also study previous interview questions. So look it up online, see if you can find any list of common interview questions for this specific position, and practice answering them. I'm sure you can find a lot of resources. And always make sure to practice problems and tasks. Now, for some technical interviews, you need to be able to answer technical difficult tasks. And there are a lot of resources online. So as I said, solve as many problems and practice as much as you can. Try to get also familiar with common interview formats, such as whiteboarding, coding, or a shared screen. And what I mean by that is, in some interviews, you will need to do the interview by writing your solution on whiteboards or boards, or by sharing your screen or other tools. And make sure to get familiar with the tools already before the interview, so you don't waste any time during the interview to get to know the tool and to know how exactly it works. Yes, so additionally, just a second. Okay, so as we said, it's also very important to study the company's history, mission, and products. Will not only show your interest in the company, but also help you understand the context of the job you're interviewing in. And another important advice is rehearse your response. Think out loud during the process. Like when you're doing, when you're solving technical questions at home, when you're preparing, make sure that you're thinking out loud, because this can help you during the interview process. And and make it much more easier. So I'll speak now about more advice and how to basically pass a technical interview. As I said, practice, practice, practice. The more the practice solving technical issues, the better you'll become at it and the more confident you'll feel during the interview. So this is very important. And be aware about your strengths and weaknesses. Check what areas you're strong at and what areas you might lack and need to improve. And make sure to improve this kind of areas you think you might need to brush up a little bit more. As I said, be able to explain your thinking and your thought process. During the interview, it could be that the interviewer might interfere in the interview and might give you an example for a better solution or for anything else or a different approach. So be flexible and be open to other approaches. And it can tell a lot about you as a candidate and can help you during the interview process. Show your passion. Let the interviewer know how much you love technologies and how eager you are to learn and to develop. And this is a very important skill. And this is something I think that most employers are looking for in a candidate. And always be positive and confident, like believe in yourself and in an interview in a very positive attitude, and it can really bring you a long way. Next slide, please. Now, we've spoken about how to prepare yourself for an interview and how to pass technical interviews. But I think another very important factor is also to get information about the interview. And this is has already been spoken before, but I really recommend when you're getting the information about your technical interview, ask the recruiter to give you more information about it, which means who is going to interview you, what's the name of the person, what's his position, what's the best way to prepare. But before this, when you get the information about the interviewer, use this information and look up the person. And this can give you a lot of input, insight, and insights about the person. So when you see, for example, I would check what topics this person is interested in, what posts this person is doing on LinkedIn, for example, what kind of expertise he's good in, or what kind of topics he's interested in. And this might help you in your interview to find like a common ground and also to break the ice with the interviewer. Like I wouldn't do it in a scary way. I would tell him like, listen, yeah, I saw that you're an expert in this and in machine learning, or I read your recent post and I found it very interested, or what else. And I think a really good icebreaker. As I said, always ask the interviewer, what's the best way to prepare? Now, some recruiters don't give you automatically information about it. So make sure to ask. Ask if there are any websites you need to go over it, what knowledge you need to go through, and what exactly can help you to build you up for success. And also during the interview, and this is something also which I experienced as an Ola by myself, is the cultural gap in interviews. Now, some candidates feel uncomfortable during interviews to ask questions. I had the same situation by myself when I was interviewing at the beginning of my career in Israel. I felt uncomfortable asking questions when I didn't understand something because I was afraid that the interviewer might think I'm not professional enough, or I don't have any specific knowledge or whatever. So in case you don't understand what needs to be done in the technical interview or what is being asked from you or anything else, make sure to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and make sure you get all the information that you need in order that you're able to pass the interview. So remember, the interview, and this is also which has been told before, but it's a chance for you to elevate the company and see if it's a good fit for you. don't think about who company wants to hire me. It's more about what company I want to work for and what company I think I can contribute with my knowledge, with my experience, and what company I can have an impact on. And so I think what's the most important thing is to see if it's a good fit for you. So be yourself, ask questions, and just have fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. I really like the last part. I often tell candidates that interview with us at Felgen that we're not only interviewing them, they are interviewing us. They are seeing if they want us to be with them. So it's a two-sided process more than most people think. So Natalie, first of all, it was a lot of information on how to do technical interviews, and I wish I had heard it earlier in my career, because I've been terrible on technical interviews until now. But generally, there's many things that people ask also when they start the process. Even to get started with the process, one question that comes back a lot is, where is the fine line between being chutzpah, like we say in Israel, which is rude, being annoying, and which is okay when you are reaching out to people, meaning like when you want to get referrals, to get more information about the job. Where do you put the line in the Israeli culture to act with other people?
It's a very good question. I think there's no such a thing being chutzpah in your job search. I mean, you need to do it like in a good way. So what I recommend you is, if you're looking for a job, first of all, let your network know, is it LinkedIn or any other resources if you're looking for a job, only if it's not confidential, and send messages to people that you know in Israel that you're looking for a job. Now, don't send them a message, I'm looking for a job, let me know if you have something. Send them a specific message, I'm looking for an SDR position, a recruiter position, I don't know, a developer position. If you hear of something, let me know. It could be that if they really see any relevant position, they'll get back to you. But what I more recommend is, if you see any relevant position and you see that you don't have any contact or any connection to this person on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out to people that you don't know. It's only a win-win situation. Why a win-win situation? Because first of all, the person who's referring you, the person, when you're getting hired through this person who's referring you, is getting a bonus. And second of all, you'll get hired. So it's a win-win situation. But you should do it in a very nice way. So when you approach someone, do it in a way that you, first of all, introduce yourself, mention that you're an Ole Chadash, because, or Ole Vatik, or whatever, if you're already a couple of years here. I can tell you from my experience that mentioning as an Ole has helped me a lot, especially when I came and I didn't have any network here, because Israelis always like to help and always like to help you with everything they can. So use this resource. And when you reach out to them, as I said, introduce yourself, tell them that you saw this position, you want to apply. And if you want to be really good, I would look up the person that you are asking a referral from, and try to see what topics also they're interested, what posts they're doing, and try maybe to tell them whatever I saw. For example, did you hosted this and this webinar not long ago, and I really liked it, or whatever, just to make sure that you're not only interested in getting the referral and that's it. Also, you want to make them feel good. So try to make it in a decent way. And as Shavit already said before, don't spam too many people. If you send it to several people, wait till you get an answer. If you see a couple of days that you don't get any answer, approach more people.
I think it's great advice, and I 100% agree, Natalie. I often get some messages like this, and one thing I can say is, for example, in my company, we have something called a talent pool, where we write down people who are talk to us, who want to work with us, but for which we don't have an open positions yet. And then the day we open the position, we actually reach out back to those people. So that's how you can place yourself for the future in an optimal position. And it's a bit, you know, like being in a waiting list for a restaurant you really want to go to. So it's definitely important. And also I think as Olim Chadashim, we see how in Israel, everything works with a network, even finding apartments, finding help, etc. It's really a network economy here. And that's also one thing that Nevo understood. And that's why they built really this community of Olim. However, not everybody has that help and that network. So one thing many people wonder is it possible to get a job if you don't have someone from inside the company recommending you? Are the recruiter going to even look at your CV if you're not being referred?
That's a good question as well. I think from my experience, let's say this way, people who are referred by someone from the company are more likely to get hired, and I'll explain you why. Let's say you have a problem in your apartment and you're looking for a technician. You will look for a recommendation from your friends and will more likely take the service of someone who was recommended than someone you looked up on the website and have no idea who it is. The same works with companies. Although you don't know this person maybe personally, but you could have some good indication about who you are because the person already has spoken to you, you reached out to them, and so on. So, as I said, even if you don't know someone, try to find someone in the company who can refer you. And as Nathan said before, there are a lot of organizations for Olim Chadashim who are helping you with these connections or referrals or whatever. So feel free to reach out to Nevo Networks or other organizations because they're very, very helpful. And this is basically something that is closing the gap of most Olim Chadashim who don't have this network.
Well, one thing I can say on top of this is, I don't know how it is for startups in general, but for big corporates, I've heard many HR friends tell me that for some positions, they get over 1,000 CVs and they have no time to go over all of them. And they maybe get 300 recommendations. So they end up directly taking the pool of recommendations to go through. I don't know how much this happens, but I've heard about it.
Also, sorry that I'm interrupting. Also, from a company perspective, think about it's much more fun as an employee to work with people you know and people you are familiar with than with someone you don't know at all. Like, I think it's funner, I think, to work, for example, to work with friends or people you know.
Of course,
But this is my personal.
Yeah, no, I also see it in companies how often, you know, if I hire a team leader, he's going to bring under him people he's used to work with. So there is a network effect happening, but of course, for diversity purposes, sometimes we have to cut down those processes. So there's a good balance to find. I had a lot of other questions for you, Natalie, but I think we want to move on to the global Q&A with everyone. So thank you very much for your presentation. And now we're going to maybe be running question until 8:15. And Shavit, Sofia, and Natalie, you know, you are all welcome to answer. So Lorena in the background, our amazing organizer, has made a sort of a summary of all the questions that came in and given them out to me. So I'll start with the first one. After the initial thank you email, after an interview, so the follow-up we talked about earlier, how long should you wait before emailing the recruiter again for an update? We all know how it is, where we had an interview, it felt good, we follow up, and then we don't hear for a week, and it's super stressful, and you don't know if emailing is going to make you bad or good. So what do you think?
I can take it. It's important if the expectations were set by the recruiter. Many times during this conversation, you're told that we'll let you know in a few days, in a week. Sometimes you are told that we are going on vacation, we'll be closed during Pesach or whatever. So if you have this kind of expectation, be patient and wait. If nothing was told, maybe give it a few days, up to a week, and then follow up. and ask about next steps. It's also good to always remember to ask these questions during this conversation. Just take a lead and ask what the next steps will be and when can I expect to hear back from you, or will you update me right away if I'm rejected or not.
Thank you, Sophia. Following this, the second question we have is, I hear the market is saturated right now with applicants. How can we make our application stand out? Basically, we've talked about networking, about different advices to succeed, but beyond those, what is possible? Natalie, please.
That's a good question. Now, unfortunately, the situation in the market is different than it was like a while ago. So there are a lot of candidates out there. Now, what you can do more than elevating your network and basically sending out your CV is making yourself kind of, how would I call it, subject expert. Now, if you're interested in specific topics which are related to the position that you're interested in, try to change your online appearance, and try to write posts and articles about it. I can give an example of a friend who, like it was a couple of years ago, she was interested to apply for a position, but didn't have the experience, and she was doing a career change. And because she started writing a blog and a lot of information online, she got approached by a company and ended up in this position because she became the subject expert of this specific topic. And it gave you an advantage more than basically for other candidates, and she was standing out. And this is something I highly recommend to other people. I mean, it takes courage to write things online and write posts and articles, but I think in times of now, your public experience and your yourself, how do you express yourself online, and how people can, your personal brand, I would call it, is much more important than it used to. And I think this is a way you can stand out more than other people.
Yeah, 100% agree, Natalie. Two things I underrated when I was applying is, LinkedIn, how you can build your personal brand, how much actually some recruiters go on your LinkedIn and look if you post, look if you've built some opinion around yourself. So this is important. And the other thing I wanted to add is, from my HR friends, I always felt like it's very professional, it's very strict, the process, but often I realize how much the personal can get into it, like how much you can say that you're really into this job, and you can be nice to the recruiter, and how much it can play for you getting the job. Shavit and Sophia, of course, feel free to step in if you want to add on to it. So let's go to the next one. Is it possible to look for a job from abroad? We talked about being in Haifa, but this is next step. Are we still applying the things that we said before, or now is it different when you're in a different country? Shavit, I think you're muted.
I'm not sure if it was meant to work from abroad or take the position from abroad and do it in Israel. This is the purpose of the question.
It's relocating once you hired.
So I think for sure, yes, it's just looking for a job can be a bit more challenging because of the time zones issues. But if you are planning to relocate, then applying first and doing the interview process in remote can be an option. I think what is important there is just to be very clear about it, that this is the plan, because most companies will not invest in relocation candidate that they don't know. And also it's a valid question for a candidate, because to decide on relocation for a job is to take a risk. So think with yourself if it's worth it. But I think, yes, it is possible, of course. It just needs to be very clear when applying that you're planning to relocate and move.
It's basically puts the bar a bit higher. So you need to be, a bigger talent, I expect. I can also share an anecdote where we hired somebody from Great Britain, and Then it turned out that it was going to take more than 6 months to sort out the right to work in Israel. And because of this, we had to retract the offer. So a big thing is to show you already have the right to work in the country, that maybe you already made that.
Yeah. You should be really responsible for the fact that you are responsible for your B1 visa. So to be very clear on that, or for Olim, because it is a procedure, and sometimes it's not that clear to applicants that it might take a while.
Great. So now a question about benefits. So one of the attendees told us that he has noticed that the companies here don't tell about the benefits. They don't really sell the company, and sometimes they won't say, I don't know how much CBIS there is or how much shares. I don't know exactly what's within benefits, but sometimes it's not being discussed until the last stage of the interview. Is it something that can be discussed during the interview or only at the offer stage? What do you advise to do with that sensitive topic?
It depends on the company policy. Some companies don't disclose the package because they want to use it for negotiations at the last stage. As well as they don't disclose the salary, they see the package, all the benefits and CBOS and the bonus and the bonus structure. They keep it for the last stage to, as a card in the pocket.
Mm-hmm. So the company sort of keeps the cards in their hands until the last moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think it's different when it comes to benefits and compensations. When it comes to salary, personally, I think it's more professional to set expectations from the start. So I think most recruiters will ask about salary expectations to see that there is an alignment. So it's one thing about salary, and then benefits sometimes is also more detailed and also a negotiation. And also I think in most companies, or a lot of companies, especially in the tech industry, the main component is the salary itself, and on top of that, there are benefits. So this is why also.
I see. Well, hopefully most people here will get to the stage of discussing the benefits. So we've all been in that situation, the one when you apply to more than one position at the same company. Often some big companies have over 50 positions and some are very similar. Is it something that hurts your application to do so? Yeah, Natalie, go for it.
Okay. So, okay, let's split the answer into two parts. If it's a small company, I would send the application to the specific position. I wouldn't apply to all the positions, although it can't hurt, but it looks a little bit bad, I think, for a candidate to send to so many positions, because it can't be that the candidate fits to all the positions. So I recommend to send it only to positions that could be relevant. And if you apply to a bigger company and you see, for example, 2 or 3 positions which could be relevant, feel free to send it to 2 or 3 positions. Why? Or even more. Why? Because sometimes the recruiter who's recruiting for a specific position might not be the same recruiter who's recruiting to the other position. So even if you get a rejection for one position, it could be that you're still relevant for another one. But don't over spam and over send it, because it can look really bad as a candidate. And if you got already a rejection for this specific position, don't send your CV again, because it's just it gives a bad taste for the recruiter afterwards when you send it again for this specific position.
Yeah, and I've seen the case also on the other side where one recruiter is responsible for 5 positions who almost have the same name, like data engineer, data scientist, data analyst. And, if they get the same CV on the same positions, it of course looks a bit weird. So probably best to limit the number, I guess, maybe 2 or 3. But yeah, it's open to discussion. Okay, we have time for a last question. And this one, I think it comes well to close our whole webinar. Can you share some tips on how to get feedback after an interview? Meaning, if you're rejected from a job, it's sometimes challenging to understand what you didn't do well, why you were not selected. Often the feedback is very empty, like we choose somebody with more experience. What do you advise?
My advice would be not to insist as a candidate on getting this feedback. And most of us recruiters struggle with these questions because from one side, we need to be politically correct, not to insult a person. If something wasn't right on the technical, personal side, things happen. On the other side, we're not free to not give feedback at all. So it's better not to insist on that. If the company is more open, they want to teach you, they want to share some tips on improvement, that's fine. If the company gives a polite answer, like it was a result of comparison with other candidates and we picked someone who is a better fit, then accept this feedback and move on.
I think also the way the company treats a candidate, not only about feedback, about the entire process in general, I think this is also the way how the culture is at the end of the day and how things are working in a specific company. So when you're interviewing, make sure also to check for yourself, is this the environment you want to work for? And not everything is okay, even if it's a recruiter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can add an anecdote on this. Once I made the mistake to give feedback to a candidate that asked it, and he ended up challenging me, and then I was stuck in a discussion I didn't want to be in. So I think this is why most recruiters won't give feedback. And also more generally, there's many candidates. There's generally a lot of candidates, and you pick one because you want this candidate for the job, and you don't necessarily have a reason for not picking the rest. You have a reason for picking that person. So it doesn't necessarily reflect bad on you also.
I think also if you come as with the attitude that you're an Olay and you explain and listen, I'm Olay, it's new for me, I just want to learn. I understood that I didn't pass, but I want to learn from my interview process for the future. What was wrong? I think you will more likely get an answer.
Great. I'm shocked by how many topics we covered in an hour. I feel I've reshaped my whole HR knowledge in so little time. Natalie, Shavit, Sofia, thank you so much. It was great. We recorded this webinar, so you will all be able to see it and to share it with your friends, to review some parts. Please share it on LinkedIn. It will help you start build your personal brand. It will help other friends learn about it. And please tag Nevo, the Olim network, because it's going to continue helping you. And the more you tag, the more you share, the more we know who you are, and we can continue helping all of you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.